Hi YouTube, I hope you're doing good. I'm having a pretty good day. I got some transplanting done this morning with my indoor plants. I had my dragon tree called a Madagascar and um, avocado tree I had to put in a bigger pot, and I put some dirt in some lettuce that I had started and some carrots. I'm growing them to let them go to seed, so I have the seeds. So I'm just growing them for the seeds. But anyway, tomorrow I have to get out. Tomorrow's the day to move my rhubarb. I checked it. It's coming up, but if you've been here, I was telling you that it's being invaded by raspberry plants, so I have to separate them because I thought my rhubarb was big enough to stop the raspberries, but it wasn't. I thought that just the bushes itself, but the raspberries are a stronger, more invasive plant than the rhubarb. The rhubarb usually just grows in a plant, grows up, whereas raspberry brambles, vines have a tendency to put out their tentacles and go through the ground kind of on, the rhubarb doesn't move like raspberries do. They have a good ability of spreading out really quick, so yeah. Hopefully I won't murder my rhubarb. I moved it last year. It didn't like where I put it, so I'm going to try a different spot. So, yeah, I had to move it. We took down a fence line after my horse died. It's easier to mow. Things are more wide open. We didn't have to mow a lot. When she was alive, I just let her out in the yard, but yeah. Some days I still look out there, like this morning I just looked over in her pasture, and it's like I just miss seeing her out there. She was so beautiful, such a good girl. But yeah, we all, I'm sure, miss loved ones in our lives. So maybe, maybe not. I don't know. So, some of them I miss. Others not so much, I guess, to be honest. So, what can I say? The truth. Oh, Awaken with JP had a really good video today. There was a woman on there, a thing that doesn't know what it was. The reason I call it a thing is because he referred to him as he didn't know what he was. Sometimes he's this, sometimes he's that. But what what I didn't like about the whole thing is he said not only does he likes to play with gender, he likes to make it confusing for who. And the thing is, he's an educator. He's a therapist that doesn't know who he identifies as, that is going to tell other people how to not identify. But the big thing is, not only could you have like different genitalia, well, he thinks they should be made like flowers or something. Why just stop at being able to construct genitalia when you could make something more to a person's liking, maybe? I don't know, man. That's bad. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know. I don't know if I'll drop the link in here. I might. Let me see what I got here as far as I don't know if you're interested in that, but I mean, when people are not telling the truth out here with provable science instead of this fairy tale stuff that is, and they're influencers of children, yeah, it's just too much. Is this the most confused, gender confused person ever? Yeah, it might be. I'm going to actually, yeah, I'm going to share the link. People, you got to see this. I mean, when we got, all right, so a person may not, see, I really have a hard time giving anybody the benefit of the doubt when this is all in the scriptures of Satan's confusion and delusions and that type of thing that he's doing on our planet. So giving people the benefit of the doubt whether or not it's actually they're satanic or not. I may not be able to prove that. I do know that probably your children or my children has had things that have happened that were confusing in their life that other people taught them that they had to grow out of. If we could stop flat out lies and deceit towards our children, we should do that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not calling for, I mean, if they want to do this stuff, have at it. But in the public and towards other people's children and whatever, it's, we have a right to say something. It's like them covering up our sun. Some of us like sunshine. Plants like sunshine. So if somebody's going to cover up something that keeps me alive, they're essentially killing me. Do I have the right to strike back? Do we? Yeah, we do. We have the right to say, I don't want you covering up my son. I don't want you teaching my sons that they're part women. You know, all these logical things that we used to take for granted on this planet aren't anymore, it's not a given. It's not just, oh, the sun's going to shine tomorrow, is it? If the guy's name was Mr. Peabody has a suit on, you know he's going to wear a suit. Is he? You know? What type of confusion and why? Why are people pushing this so hard? You know? I bet I could give that little bitch a knuckle sandwich and he'd be screaming he was a man by the time I got done with it. Maybe he's that hungry, you know? Usually when push comes to shove, when people get shoved in a corner and they're ready to fight for their own life and their own soul, usually when push comes to shove, they're going to be honest about stuff because they don't have a choice. Ever met them one liars and they'll still keep trying to lie, like right up to the end, and there'll be like a crowd of people and they're still lying, and you're like, yeah, but this is the truth. This is the truth right here. And they'll try and say a couple things, still trying to cover the lie as the truth is being exposed. You know? So what kind of person is that confused? What kind of person promotes and supports something that's adverse to actual biology and real science? So people are throwing away what is actual science, provable science, in lieu of satanic agendas. I have somebody that, well, I know he's a liar. He said his eyes were blue, and they're about as green as they get, you know? But I mean, somebody that I used to take stock in, I would say had a great respect, is promoting two different genders within people when it just isn't the case, you know. But I mean, if you feel like you're part of man and you're a woman, I can't even say I'm sorry for you if that's actually how you feel, or if you're a man that feels more feminine. Well, I might be sorry for you. But being a femme versus being a gentleman, you know. In my day, we called it being a gentleman. You know, there was like macho men and gentlemen. Well, I come to find out that most macho men were quite gay, you know, whereas a lot of gentlemen probably could stomp the tar out of somebody, but probably never would, you know. So, anyway, I don't know how these men can do that, you know. I really don't. One thing I will say, in defense of this person that I'm going to share, that JP is sharing, he is and was raised with the Jewish faith. One of them is what I'm. He said he was Jewish, so I am led to believe that within that and their beliefs of God being what is the word for it? Oh, there's different words, but meaning the combination of man and woman is what is God. He made flowers too, but he's not a flower. You know, a baker bakes bread, but we're not a loaf of bread, you know. A painter paints on a canvas, but they're not that painting, you know. God made mice, but he's not a mouse, you know. I can just get this through to people, you know. My ex and I had 2 sons. We combined our heritages and created, they are boys, believe me, they're boys. That's, they actually identify as boys too. I do believe they do. Despite all the things that have been done to them to make that not so. But our combination of our genes within our children didn't make them half man and half woman, just like my parents made me. But I'm still not a guy just because I have half my dad's genes in me, you know? So, being that people are androgynous is what I was searching for. There's other words for it too. like meaning to be able to self-replicate. That's not quite how things. They describe what is spiritual in the physical. And that's if you believe in the spiritual realm, if you believe that our Creator communicates with us on a spiritual level, where the hell do you get off describing Him in the physical? How could you do that? Isn't that demeaning? Isn't that belittling? I would think, you know, be like my kids, yeah, that's my mom, but she's really part guy because my grandpa was a guy. But then, yeah, my grandma, she's a woman, but really so everybody we're all just guys and women, all at the same time, and there is no distinction. Isn't that a little bit sick in the world that people are so confused and they can't define the difference between a man or a woman? That doesn't bother people? God, even Doug's cat is crying. Oh no. That's right, Bob. I feel the same way. Oh no. He understands a lot of English. Mm, oh, in I think it's September, he'll be 15. So he's a smarty. He's actually saying sentences. He tries, which is pretty cool. I love when cats do that, you know. Kinda. Some of them get like Siameses I had. They got a little crazy with their talking. It's like, now it's time for you. You have to shut up. You know, when you get a cat that's just like mouthy. Speaking of animals, I was sad to see that 007 from the Canary Islands, Richard Avery, his little dog Elfie, he's had him for 9 years. He just found him, or Elfie found him. But anyway, they've been together for 9 years, and Elfie is sneezing blood out of his nose. That is not a good thing. I had 3 animals die within 6 months of each other, and none of it seemed natural, even though my horse and my cat were in their 20s. But I don't know, my dog, it seemed like it was directed energy weapons. Because if they can make you fall apart because of your love for any life, that might be part of the thing, or just pollution. Look what they're dumping on us. It's amazing that everybody isn't bleeding out of their nose, which I do a lot, but that's allergies and different things. But yeah, I used to have bloody noses all the time. It was pretty horrible. Till I had that operation, it did help. Last year, or maybe it was a few years back, my nose was bleeding again, and then it quit, and then like my allergies made that happen a couple times this year so far, but not bad. So I'm lucky. So yeah, 00, if you see this, I pray that Elfie gets the best care he could possibly have. He's a beautiful little guy, a good little boy. So, yeah, I know you love him. Yeah, he did a fundraiser for Elfie to see if, because the veterinarians are so expensive there, and they are everywhere, believe me. the last I took my dog to the vet to have her teeth cleaned. Just that alone was something like $500. It was pretty crazy, you know? And I would brush her teeth too. It's just she was getting older and she had more buildup than you could do. But I had one of these little finger toothbrushes. I had a regular toothbrush for her. The best thing that worked on her that she liked the best, they have doggy toothbrush wipes, dental wipes. So you actually like get in there and just rub with your finger on their little smile, you know, and get in there. And those worked the best. And they didn't assault her as bad as I used to have to put her. She was a pretty small dog, but she was super strong and muscular. And I sit on the floor and put her between my legs and put her in a headlock dang near, and I'd be scrubbing her teeth, and she'd act like I was choking her, and which I wasn't, but she'd go, you know, all this shenanigans while I'm trying to take care of her. So yeah. Or if I was clipping her nails and I had one with a light, and you know, and I never hurt her, but I'd clip it and she'd scream. I mean, you know, little dog shit, you know, if you know what I'm talking about. She is part Jack Russell and part Basset Hound. She's a clown. It's just tiny. When I got her, just really little. Doug had this massive dog, Buddy. Was Newfoundland Great Dane mix, great big black dog. His head was like this. I have a picture of Lady and Buddy. Just the size difference. Buddy was scared to death of her too, just because he was scared of cats too. And he couldn't see well, and that probably had a lot to do with it. But I did teach him how to be an attack dog. He was able to take down like a 220-pound, 6'3" man and keep him pinned on the ground. So without hurting him. So, but he was big enough to do that. So my horse was good protection too. I mean, it's not that I'm scared, but I do think it's funny when somebody's up to no good and they have bad thoughts, and you have an animal that can pick up on that type of thing, and they actually make waves or do something to do to the people to make it known that they don't like them, you know, not hurt them or anything, but just do like funny things. We had this one guy, his father, we had a customer, and my horse didn't like the father. And Doug had her out in the yard, and they're out there talking about cars. They're walking around, and Dusty would come up, and she'd get behind him. I had to yell out the window several times, a couple different times when they were here, for Doug to watch her, because she was probably going to try and throw him with her head, but she was sneaking up behind him, and I could just tell, you know, she was going to try and do something. One time she stepped on Doug's foot and wouldn't get off it. And just kind of, Doug didn't know all you have to do is take your hands and push him over, kind of like that, and you can move your horse. But he wasn't really accustomed to being around horses a lot. But they came to an understanding, and she never did that again. But yeah. Or she'd sneak up on him, and she did it to me too. She was like freaking stealth. She'd be out in the yard, and if you were busy, she'd like come up behind you and like, you know, all of a sudden it's just like 1,200 pounds of, and she was huge. Wasn't a little horse. She was a beast. Spooky. And then she would actually laugh when she scared you. But then on the other hand, I'd come out of the house and she'd bow for me just like a princess, just a beautiful animal. I do miss her, but I'm too old to get more animals because they'll outlive me and it would be selfish. So it really would. I don't know why older people get animals, Maybe for protection I could see, but still, you know. Yeah, I'll have another cigarette here and think about getting this uploaded and yeah. So if you run across these people that are trying to confuse children, they cannot define the truth of biological life within humans, And they say even like, oh, well, seahorses can take on, a male can become pregnant. No, let's speak the science like it is. One of the seahorses takes on the ability to give birth, and at that time, that is called the mother. They have the ability to give birth. At that time, they become the mother. So if they were just a seahorse before copulation, one of them at that time is distinctly the mother at that time. That's how that works. And they're trying to use that as an example of how humans procreate. Really poor correlation, if you ask me. And still, even if I were a lizard and I could give birth to my own young, um, people aren't reptiles. People aren't seahorses. People have two genders. There isn't even three genders in any species on the planet, except for the retards that are satanic, that are trying to teach children the wrong way. Regressed, fallen angels that want to keep you and your children as slaves. If it's my recommendation that you don't help them. It's my recommendation that you let it be known to the world, because there are more normal people out here raising families and trying to teach their little people how to be decent adults. There's more of us. It may not seem like it, the way the media is going. And teenagers, you never really know what they're going to do anyway. And that's why I'm really against any kind of gender affirming care for adolescents. These people conditioning children like that should have their heads whacked off. And if you're listening to me and you don't know if you're a man or a woman, or you think you're both, you got some soul searching to do, big time. I gave birth twice, and I worked in hospitals and retirement homes and been around a lot. I have never seen a man give birth. I work for a veterinarian. I had never seen a male of any species give birth. Not one time. But they want to pretend they can. Isn't that the same as lying? And if they're not lying and they're that confused, then they do need help. If they're doing it maliciously, there's help for that too. I do believe there's help for that. Satan's going to help them, but they aren't going to like what happens. They do his bidding, and then he kills them anyway. Wow, what kind of a father is that? Wow. But Father, I told him I was both male and female. You dumbass. Yeah. You were supposed to tell him it was spiritual, but you didn't tell me that part. Yeah, I know, stupid. Well, I'm going to get this uploaded. Appreciate you joining me. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a really good night or day wherever you're at.